It's over. It's
You know
absolutely
what's
over.
crazy? Y'all made me edit this by myself with no help, with no direction last week. Shout out to me for coming overcoming all of that greatness. This
Shout out
man
to
Art
you.
asks for what'd you ask for? You asked for debate
Yes,
music.
I
And I
did.
literally found the greatest debate music of all time, the intro to Head of
Hilarious.
State,
Oh yeah.
and
I,
then nobody gives me credit for it. I'm tired of being taken advantage of on this podcast. I feel all the pain that Carl's does. Y'all are absolutely ridiculous.
Carl
Nobody gave me
does.
a high five
Carl.
or man, Jared, that was awesome. Way to use your head. That was really clever. I'm up to 3 o'clock in the morning, doing this for the company, and I ain't even get an attaboy. Y'all are ridiculous.
Carl ain't edited in 6 months. What you mean?
Uh,
I see what he goes
What you
through. I see
mean?
the vitriol that he has dealing with you jokers.
Whatever. I'm in CapCut every Monday, Sunday night, grinding, putting in the work. No,
Fighting for
you
your
weren't with
life.
me shooting in the gym. You weren't with me
I
shooting in
was.
the gym.
You were with me last week. I almost deleted the whole thing. I got fed up.
And so as soon as somebody else shares the burden, now all of a sudden, it's a war crime. So I don't want to hear it. Nah, you,
It
you
is war
good. You can
crimes.
do it again this week. You can
well,
do it
that
again
is
this
good.
week.
It is war crimes. Anywho, I just thought I'd share that bit with y'all. Head of State is genius. RP Nate Dogg. Let's start the show.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is former NASCAR driver Bill Lester.
I'm NASCAR driver Natalie Decker.
NASCAR's Chief Hype Officer Mamba Smith.
And you're listening to Victory Lane.
Victory Lane.
Victory Lane Vibes. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of Victory Lane Vibes. We are your hostesses with the mostesses. It's the three amigos. I got Art and Bonte with me. And if you know Victory Lane Vibes, you know us to not hold our tongues. You know us to stand on business. And just know if you've been in any portion of Twitter discourse the last 36 hours, you know exactly why you're here. Tell your friends to listen to this episode because you know what's about to happen. But first, we're going to flip the script. The hotline's back. We have some callers that called in to share their opinions on the Chicago weekend before we divulge into our opinions. So let's see what we got.
All right, so we got 2 callers and 3 voicemails this week. So I'll leave it at that. So here we go. These are unscreened, and we'll see what the people give us. So caller number 1.
Hey, my peeps at Victory Lane Vibes. This is BJ Morgan. I just wanted to call and say I thought for the most part the weekend was fairly decent. I mean, I enjoyed seeing the Xfinity race on Saturday. Larson and SVG duking it out. I thought they put on a pretty good show. As for Sunday, I hate that it was a decent race, but I hate that Mother Nature decided to rear her fat, ugly head again and mess it up for people again. I wish though, I feel like NASCAR kind of invited it when I know it's a TV network thing when they had to start time so late in the day. I saw people on social media saying, hey, well, we need to start it at 12 or 1 o'clock or something like that. You didn't, in my opinion, need that. You probably needed about a 3 o'clock start time and just get the cars on track by 3. You would have had time to complete most or all of that race because the weather didn't come to, if I recall correctly, at the end of stage 1. So I just wish they could work that out in the future if they decide to, do this again. Secondly, I want to give a shout out to my guys at SHR, testing out the tire barriers all day. That was nice of them. Bad pop for them for doing that. I know they found them several times throughout the day. So it's like every year they have one person that just said, we need you to test out the tire barriers, make sure they still working throughout the race. And that they did a good job on that. Lastly, and I'll give props to the guy who I know he's public enemy one on a lot of people who probably won, who probably gonna listen to this podcast, but I'll give props to Bowman for at least getting the W. Well, at least his crew chief, because they set him up, put him in a position to win. I mean, it's about more what they didn't do than what others did. A lot of people, you remember they pitted, a lot of people pitted and put on them slicks, and Bowman and his crew chief said, well, we're just gonna ride them wets out. That's that. So they got the ticket punch to the playoffs. And I know there's drama with him and BW about whatever played out at the end. I just know I'm going to leave off of that and just want to say I enjoyed the weekend for the most part. And On to Pocono, and good luck to you guys.
Shout out BJ, man. Like if there's nobody that supports us hardcore outside of the people that we literally know and love quite dearly, BJ rides for us, man. Shout out BJ, man. I'm gonna get you a t-shirt.
For real.
He is always welcoming, always giving us his hot takes after listening to us. Shout out BJ, man. You are a special person to me. I appreciate you, big dog.
Yeah, and he made a great point. We're gonna get into it later, but you got to set yourself up for success, and sometimes you got to zig when everyone else zags, right? And like
Thanks.
48 Crew Chief and Crew did it, and we'll get into it later. But he's exactly right. You got to put yourself in a position to win, and they did exactly what they had to do. And so at the end of the day, that's what matters most. So I give him props for that. But yeah,
Right,
so we
right place,
appreciate.
right time.
Yeah, exactly. So appreciate that. And so we got one more caller. Let's hear what they have to say.
Look, all right. First time caller, first time listener. I got three things to say. Number one, for everybody that was complaining about we could have beat Chicagoland right now this weekend, why not both? I think it would be fantastic if somehow we could go to the Chicago Street Course one week and Chicagoland the next. Actually, in reality, I think we need to take New Hampshire off the schedule. I think we need to replace that with Chicagoland, and then that leaves them the Chicago Street Course. Now, do some kind of ticket, dual ticket incentive. Now, moving on. As far as, another newsworthy item this week, the Deegan situation, I say all the time that, numbers don't tell the whole story. I will admittedly say I have had a little bit of frustration because, people have been trying to convince most folks that Deegan is like, I think the best female racer we've ever seen in NASCAR, which is not true. The best female racer we've ever seen in NASCAR is like a mother of two children and like occasion races late models in Florida. Joanna Long. I think she's married to some like college football guy. I don't know. That being said, there is just this weird level of misogyny that exists in having conversations about Deegan. Her performance does not stem in any way, shape, or form, or fashion from her being a woman. It simply stems from the fact, I have said this before, there are people in the sport that simply cannot excel if the team is not at 100%. They cannot make up the difference. If there is anything lacking, they can't make it work. And I think Deegan is experiencing that. I hate the situation for her because I know it's got to be humiliating to make that leap and it not paying out and you're doing everything you can and it's just not enough and you get replaced mid-season. But I think that hopefully this serves as an origin story for her to come back even stronger. And I hope that she's able to find the partnerships for running trucks, something like that, with a good organization and a good team. I really hope this truck in front of me that's backing in next to me does not hit me. Anyway, the third thing I want to talk about is Bubba Wallace. Now I'm not going to talk about what y'all have already spent an hour discussing. But what I am going to say is, this guy's going to hit me. I'm going to have to pull off here. But what I do want to say is this. Like I said earlier, that's all the time. Numbers don't tell the entire story, right? And the reality of it is this. I think something that needs to be discussed and talked about that is never talked about, if these people want to talk about like, oh, he's mid, like he's such X, Y, and Z. And it's like, look, we went into this race last year dreading. Hey guys, just calling back in, waiting on the tow trucks and the paramedics. The fire department made it here, and thank God they did all they could. It's a grim scene. I'm not gonna lie to you here. In any case, I just wanted to finish off what I was saying. Is that the last couple of years we've all dreaded the 23 going to road courses because it was like trying to put out a fire with grease, man. It just sucked, and for him to go to Chicago, which is a very technical road course, very hard to pick up if you're not already good at them. I think he had like the third fastest long run average, P2 or 3 in practice, qualified 6th. I mean, and had really good pace. You know, got wrecked, was in the 30s, drove all the way to 13th. You know, although granted some cautions and things would help him out there, but I mean, that's a very commendable effort. And again, it's just frustrating because I feel like if he was anybody else who was talking about that kind of performance, if Zane Smith had did that, then we would be talking about it. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's the other point I wanted to put on. I just want to let the folks at home know, if you wear vintage sports apparel from homefield.com, you have a 27% less likely chance to look like a total cornball. So I don't know. I mean, look, it's up to you. Me personally, if I'm wearing vintage sports apparel, I want to take as many chances as I can to not look corny. So I'm going to wear home field apparel. All sorts of collections, lines, Hendrick Motorsports, Indy 500, McLaren collection, tons and tons of collegiate vintage apparel. And you can take 15% off on us. Use code VLV24. That's homefieldapparel.com on 15% off on your first order. Make sure you tag us on Twitter. Let us know what you got, what you're looking like. I may have to get the same and copy it. They got new hats out. They got new shirts out, all kinds of good stuff. Get on over there. They got an app too. There's no excuse to be the best version of you and look as less corny as possible. And there's no better time than right now. So you go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, I'm waiting on probably the coroner because this accident's looking kind of bad. I don't know if the other guy made it, even though I was sitting perfectly still. All right, anyway, I'll holler at y'all later. I'll be back next week to do Pocono, and then the week after I'll be miss MIA again. But anyway, I don't miss any of the hosts, but I miss being on the show. So we'll talk later. By the way, Art, you need to put that line by Finesse 2 times where he's like, it's cool when they do it, it's a problem when I do it, on the intro. I don't think we'll get sued for that. All right, bye.
This
Serious.
man.
I am personally very glad that we changed the show's direction. We put this first because boy, does this open up for a lot of discussion between the three of us. So, thoughts on Carl's tangent?
I
wasn't
mean,
wrong.
you know, he didn't lie. Although I like how Carl just slides in here and takes the ad read every week. Doesn't give nobody else any shine with it. He is, you know, he think he Kobe and we smush Parker, right? Like we get no shots at it. So I'd love us to get a turn at it, but yeah, you know, I think he's absolutely right. You know, there's what we're going to talk about in a second, but yeah, there's clearly two sets of rules. There's rules for me and rules for thee, and the NASCAR world reminded us those exist this week. So yeah, it was interesting, to say the least.
I'll take the road less traveled. Let's unpack this Hailie Deegan thing right quick before we get into the weekend. As you guys saw, heard, remembered last week, AM Racing said that Hailie wouldn't be in the car for this weekend's race in Chicago. Joe Logano got approached and asked if he wanted some seat time. So he got to drive the AM Racing Ford Mustang in the Xfinity race that was announced today, where AM Racing said that, hey, nah, we off that, appreciate you, but don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. However, I feel like Hailie responded, or her press release was much more adult-like and much more her. Quoting this, beginning this season, I had a lot of excitement and hope in taking my next step into the NASCAR Xfinity Series. It's something I've always been working towards for years and always dreamt about. I worked hard to prepare for the season after the team pursued me to drive their car. The team pursued her to drive the car. Unfortunately, it has not turned out the way I expected. There are always several reasons within a race team as to why things do or do not work. Reasons within a race team as to why things do or do not work. But sadly, our goals no longer align. With that being said, myself and AM Racing will be parting ways. The only thing I'm focused on is getting back to being competitive. That's all that matters to me. I'm working as quick as possible to find the best opportunities to get back on track. I'm thankful for the following that I have and everyone who supports me. It's truly only me that knows the whole story and what I need to succeed. So to sort of piggyback on Carl, thank you, Hailie, for standing on business. You can't let these teams control the narrative. I'm glad you took hold of the narrative, and knowing the background and the degree of your upbringing and who your father is. I know that you're not a loser. You're not accustomed to losing, and you got tired of losing, and you chose to choose greener pastures. So shout out for you standing on business. I hope that you get back on track soon as well. And if it's not working for you, just leave. People quit their jobs because their boss got mad, or they feel like they're being disrespected, or they're getting passed over for promotions and opportunity. Why can't an NASCAR driver do the same? Why should she waste her weekends driving trash when she can take a step back and find better? She did it. So Haley's right. AM Racing is wrong.
Yeah, and I feel like there's definitely more to the story than like what we know, obviously. And I think it always does say something about how you handle an exit, right? I think it says more about you than an entrance. Like, it's always fun and exciting when someone gets signed. There's a nice press release and it's all sunshine and flowers. But I think it says something about your character or the organization that you are leaving's character, how they handle your exiting. And I think the statements that they put out were a little telling. But there was obviously, like I said, more behind the scenes. I think also was really telling was they had Joey Logano in the car this weekend, and Joey literally had to tell him what adjustments to make based off of the feedback. Now, usually the driver would just give feedback and the crew chief knows, but he has to sit there and say, well, if I'm telling you it means this, I want that adjustment. Now, any crew chief should be able to like take their driver's feedback and apply it to the car. Like, that's a pretty fundamental part of crew chiefing, I think. So the fact that little clip, and yes, that's only one moment, and that could be a small sample size, and maybe that was a misunderstanding, but like that kind of tells me that there's bigger problems than just the driver. Like, if you want to say like, yeah, that she didn't get the results in the vehicle that she wanted, like, sure, understandably, but like you said, there's more to it. And like, even to her statement, there's more to the success and failure of a team than just the driver. Like, yeah, they have the boatload of the responsibility once, the green flag waves, of course. But yeah, there's definitely more to the story here. And I hope we get some more out of it. I hate the fact that she, loses a ride like this or walks away from a ride like this. I always want to see someone at least get a chance to ride out the season. So that part is unfortunate, but I think she's at a bit of a crossroads right now in her career. Like, she's still super young, still has a lot of seat time remaining in her career. I think she has to sit down and reflect on like, what is it that I really realistically want and can do moving forward in my career? Is it, going back down a level and then trying to build your way back up? Is it trying to change to another manufacturer? Like, Ford was good to her for a long time, and then, she ended up in this situation, which isn't ideal. So I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of soul searching being done on her front, but like I said, I just don't like seeing someone struggle like that. And I do agree with Carl. Absolutely. Like the amount of criticism and spotlight that these women drivers get is pretty ridiculous. We've talked about here about like Natalie, Haley's definitely no exception. Like, she gets the same, pressure, spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Like they've got these blockheads out there saying like, oh, she should go do OnlyFans and stuff like that. It's like, can we just let these people be talented race car drivers and like give them opportunities? And again, not reducing them down to their gender, their orientation, whatever. Like, it's just really gross. NASCAR World gave us a lot of gross this week. I mean, that was just another small sample of gross. So I hope she's at least not discouraged, too much. It doesn't sound like it necessarily by that note. And hopefully she can rebound and get, somewhere where she's happy and can have success moving forward.
Vontae, anything you want to add before we get into the thick of it?
Yeah. Just going on with Art's point. Yeah, she's a talented person. Still got plenty of years left for seat time. Hated for her. AM Racing sucks. Not surprised. I do wish her the best though. Yeah.
Well, with that, ladies and germs, we move on to the race weekend. So it looked like the luck flipped for one series. It stayed the same for another. Beautiful, beautiful Saturday afternoon in Chicago for the masses and the Chicago residents alike to witness SVG in person. He, him, Himothy. SVG is that guy. Very entertaining start to the race. Him and Larson going back and forth, trading paint. SVG giving out a thumbs up at speed. Very fun to hear the NBC broadcasters stumble over Shane Van Gisbergen several times. That made my afternoon. When all the dust settled, Shane did what he came to do. He wins the Xfinity race. To no one's surprise, the last 15 laps, him just driving back to the front was just absolutely astounding. The speed that this man carries to the corner was just breathtaking. It was amazing. It was astounding. They had the concert. They had the driver introduction. Saturday was just as NASCAR scripted it. Let's take a music festival weekend, give y'all a street race, have at it. Here it goes. Here we go. Saturday was perfect. SVG wins the Chicago street race.
Oh man, oh man, oh man, this race. I need to go find the clip and put it in. I've said it before here, but you were watching a master at work. Like that is what you got. This race is so freaking good. Like so good. Oh my gosh. I love this race so much. I love this Xfinity car. I love this Xfinity car in the Chicago Street Course, and I love SVG in this car winning at the Chicago Street Course. So I was very, very happy. This race really was just so fantastic. Him and Larson, I mean, they were just throwing body blows at each other for the first 15 laps or so. Like it was just so great to watch. And then, it seemed like you think he's going to run away with it, right? Because clearly he's got a great car and clearly he's the best in the field right now. But then you had some strategy calls by some folks, and there was a late restart, I think, with maybe 5 to go or less than 10 to go, I want to say. And so he wasn't, in the second row. He was back a ways, and he had to really get up on the wheel and earn it. And I just thought to myself, there's plenty of time. Like there's enough time. He can get back there. So watching, like Jared said, him come back was just so satisfying to watch. He's got that place figured out, as long as he's not getting run into and getting his wing clipped, he's gonna be a threat there at the end every time.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I just really love this race though. This car is just so much fun to watch. And sometimes I feel bad because like we get on here every week and I feel like I don't have anything new to say about the Xfinity series, but it's like I just love watching it. Like I sat there, every minute that it was green flag, I'm glued to the TV. My phone is not in my hand. Like I am not on Twitter. I am not looking at anything when it's green flag action because it's so fun. This race was so great for me. The only negative, and it's very, very small, is that they got a little wrecky near the end. There were like 2 or 3 wrecks, in like the last 15 laps or so, or last 20 laps or so. It's like, come on, let's just keep this thing going. Like you don't want it to grind out to a halt right there at the end. And thankfully they were able to have a nice, short run at the end there that was under green. But yeah, man, this race was just so good. I almost wish we had done 2 recordings, one after Xfinity and one after Cup, because like I was on cloud 9 after Xfinity. I was coming on here. I was ready to badmouth all those people talking about Bowman Gray and North Wilkesboro and Bristol Dirt and Road America. And I was just going to lambaste those people for a good 15 minutes because I was just on such a high because that race was so great. And then we get to Sunday, and Sunday was a little less great for a variety of reasons, which we'll get to in a second. But, SVG is just him. And it's so fun to watch this dude. I don't understand how anyone could hate on this guy. Like he just seems, like such a laid back guy. I mean, he's literally dueling with Kyle Larson, and he gives him, the thumbs up after passing him, under green. Like this is not a caution. Like he's got way more respect than these Northern Virginia drivers that I have to deal with around here on a daily basis. I could be like, they're flipping off some single fingers, and it ain't the thumbs up. I could promise you that. But it was just so fun to watch those two. Like I'd pay money just to watch those two guys go ahead on a road course. every week, of the month. I would happily watch that on a Sunday or Saturday. So I think it was amazing. I loved it. I wish they rolled back out that exact same car again on Sunday. But Xfinity, like, you just, chef's kiss. You did the damn thing. You can be very proud of yourselves for the performance you put on this weekend. Great racing.
Go ahead, Bonte. What you think?
So I did not watch this race because I was at my cousin's funeral that Saturday. But I watched the highlights. Boy, that was great. That was fantastic, bro. Man. Also, when I was on my phone to see any updates on the race and stuff, found out my boy Shane Van Gisbergen won again. Because it came through for me once again, man. 3 for 3. No, not 3 for 3, but you know what I'm saying. The last 3 road courses, I mean, he got that dog in him. What absolute greatness from him. The last 15 last week, come like when Jerry said, came through back in the field and came from the front. Raising him and Larson was fantastic. Just pure greatness, man. I tell you now, Shane Van Gisbergen is gonna make me broke because I gotta get another diecast. Jesus Christ, I need more, man. But
Right.
other than that, right, exactly. But other than that, though, outstanding road course race. They don't miss.
Just wanted to give an honorable mention to friend of the show, Brad Perez. He dropped a cylinder during qualifying and he wasn't able to make the show, but he would have made it on speed. He was cooking. He was cooking in practice. So keep your head up, Brad. I know you'll get a couple of opportunities hopefully this year to showcase your talents and your speed on the road courses. But it just sucks because he surprised everybody being in the car. I didn't even notice it, but a lot of people jumped in to help, pitch in and support. Made sure you got there, made sure you got tires and everything to set up a successful weekend. But the motor ain't want to go no more. So keep your head up, Brad. We can catch you next time we see you on the track.
Man, give that man some reliable machines under him and let him cook. Boy, let that man cook. I hope he get, man, that really broke my heart. I hate it for him. Like, he's such a good dude. So, like you said, hopefully he gets another shot here sooner rather than later.
Oh, he will. He definitely will.
And then the moment you all were waiting for, after the fantastic appetizer, we got Saturday. The main course is going to be fantastic, right? Wrong. The Grant Park 165 countdown clock at Chicago, where there was some bumping, there was some banging, there was some rain, and some jet dryers almost clobbering half of the field. When all the mist got wiped away by a broken, non-working, non-existent windshield wiper, Alex Bowman wins and Chicago punches his ticket into the playoffs, snapping a 66 race losing streak, whatever the streak is. But yeah, Alex wins. He said, F you to the haters, I'm going to drink bourbon. And I'll just leave it there. Thoughts on Sunday? The race. Just the race. Thoughts on the race. Just the race. Just the racing. Just the race.
It was a waste of time, bro. Not really, but kind of, yeah. Sorry.
Like, sorry, not sorry, but like genuinely.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, racism wasn't even that bad. I ain't gonna lie to you. I kind of enjoyed it. The issue is, why you gotta start the race so damn late if you knew rain was coming? So I really don't understand that. We literally damn near wasted like almost like 2 hours, 2 or more hours because of the rain. And not only that, they had a limit, 8:20 p.m. They go over the limit, the race is over. So it's pretty disappointing. The race is pretty great. Um, Big shout out to Alex Bowman for the win. Happy for him. We'll touch on a subject a little later. SHR, what are y'all doing, bro? Like y'all reckon literally every like 5 laps or even restart. Like like Jesus Christ, y'all there clearing the whole tire barrier. Then you got Larson literally sent then almost didn't even hit the tire barrier. Literally don't hit the straight. Almost hit the straight wall. I'm like Jesus Christ. Um, who else am missing? You got obviously the whole issue towards the end and um Chase and Daniel. We can also get to that later. But outside of that, all that madness, the races was pretty decent. Just kind of wish they need to start the race a little earlier. If they do, we wouldn't even kind of technically have this issue. But hey, who knows?
Before you go, Art, I just want to say that Bowman had an 80 race winless streak snapped. People like to pop up in our mentions and try to be fact checkers. Fixing it myself. 80 wins, no wins until yesterday in Chicago. I mean, shame on NBC. Shame, shame, shame. The TV partners have fantastic meteorologists. You should know when and when not to start a race. It's the summer stretch. You're not competing against anything. So why do you have to have the race so late in the first place? Like if it didn't rain, the green flag would have dropped at 4:30 Eastern time for a daytime race. Why so late? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's the summertime. People would rather watch it, get it over with so they can go outside instead of you trying to beg people to come inside to watch the race. Like, that's dumb. That's idiotic. So hopefully with Amazon and Amazon being strictly streaming, that we can get some 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock start times back in here so we don't have to deal with summer storms. Like everybody knows there's a chance of storms at 5 o'clock wherever you live. It's the summertime. It's America. Come on now. Let's not be dense. It was aggravating the race didn't get to start when it was supposed to. It was aggravating that the race got held up by an hour and a half rain delay. I was okay with the countdown clock if they didn't stop the race for the stage break. Had they just let the race just continue to run, maybe would have gotten a different outcome. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's good on Bowman and his fans for winning. Good on Rick Hendrick for getting all 4 of his cars locked into the playoffs. Being the second organization to do that behind Penske, but you could have done better. Race control could have done better, and I feel like nothing was learned from last year. Nothing was learned from last year, and this was the exact same scenario. It played out the exact same way, and NASCAR fans deserve a better racing product than this. It was 9:30 and the race was still on in my house. That's irritating. If it's not a night race, that's extremely irritating. For 165 miles, for a 70 some odd lap race, that's very, very aggravating. What do you think, Art? What were your thoughts on the race?
Oh, I have a lot of the same complaints. I mean, I totally understand that a lot of these decisions come down to TV, but if you're going to sign these deals, I refuse to believe that NASCAR just has zero agency in these decisions. And if you're going to have these multi-billion-dollar TV deals, you've got to have something in there that says, hey, look, the Daytona 500, our Indy race, our Chicago street course, our Phoenix race have to have priority because these are our highest selling tickets, basically. Like, there has to be something, our Coke 600, like these are the most important races of the season. And you just have to make sure they have priority. And I understand IndyCar was going on earlier in the afternoon, but have it so that we're right up against it. So that as soon as IndyCar ends at, 2 o'clock or whatever it is, 2:30, green flag is out or something. I just feel like there's a lot of sitting around time when they could easily have gotten more racing in. So that part is just so frustrating. Like, if it's a case where, you're just at the mercy of TV, well, then we have to find a TV partner that's willing to work with you. Like, it has to be a relationship. It shouldn't be, you'll take what we give you because we pay you. Like, that can't be the case. So that was really frustrating. The double filed restart after the rain, which led to Bubba's competitive day being ruined, was such a dumb call. That part was really frustrating. And I just feel like there's so many little things that went on, like little decisions that that actually are big decisions in hindsight, that just really sour a lot of this race from me. The 23's finish aside, like, I don't say that for 2311 corner, but so much of the afternoon I was sitting there working on house projects, and I was like, I'm bored. There's nothing else to do, and like, I get you can't control the weather, but again, if you'd started earlier, you could have gotten to 50+% of the race and you could have called it and you wouldn't have had these issues. And yeah, it would have been a bit sour, but it would have been a better situation, I think, than the countdown clock. And this race is so valuable. I just saw a tweet today that said for NBC, this is their second most watched race since 2021. And I think it said that they were up 35% versus last year's. So like, people are willing to watch. Like, clearly the appeal is still here for this race, this type of racing with NASCAR. I think about like Bristol Dirt, where like that had a big appeal the first year, and then I feel like in the second year it kind of teetered off a little bit. Whereas with this, I still think this idea has the legs that make it worth being a long-term project. I would love to see them back at Chicago again. I know the contract, I believe it's like an option year for the third year. I'd love to see them at Chicago, and then, as I've said on here before, like, take them on the road, take them to Denver, take them to Montreal, take them to anywhere. If they're in North America, hell, take them down to Mexico City. I don't care. Find somewhere with a street course and put these cars on it and let them see that, because it's just so amazing to watch. And, I thought overall the field was a lot better this year than last year. They felt more competitive. I'm sure SVG getting knocked out helped that a lot, but it did not feel like the typical road course where there's only one or two guys that realistically have a chance at winning. With the rain, the different tires, there's just a lot more strategy play. And then, yes, the countdown clock as well. And I'm going to save my countdown clock for comments for Lights Too Bright. But yeah, it's just like, when they were racing, it was great to watch. Honestly, I enjoyed, even when it was in the rain, and guys were still throwing it in there and still making aggressive moves and trying to pass, and you could pass, which is all that you can ask for. And there were a lot of guys up front. Ty was up front for a while. SVG was near the front. Larson was near the front. Bell was leader for a long time. And then you had, Larson, SVG finished last and second to last. Like, who would have, if you could bet money on that, that would be something clairvoyant. Like, it was so unpredictable. Bell got into some trouble that wasn't his doing. Ty Gibbs wasn't able to stay up there late. So like, there was a lot of unpredictability, which is great. The race controls just kills it for me. And like with Bowen winning, like, yeah, you don't want to see the guy that wrecks out your favorite driver win after that. But like, I'm not a Bowman hater. Like, I think out of the 400 guys, he's actually probably the most likable. Like, he seems like the most normal kind of out of them. I'm not saying the other three are jerks, but I really don't have an issue with that. I mean, I just don't like the fact that he wrecked my guy, and I totally understand it was an accident. I don't think he tried to do it with any intention, but the standings don't care. And Bubba was probably going to have a top 10, top 5 day potentially. With the right strategy call, maybe he's in Bowman's place there with the countdown clock. Cause like you said, he drove up like 23 spots in the last 2 restarts. Like, clearly they circled this as a race they wanted to improve, and like, he improved. So like, that part's really, really frustrating. But yeah, I mean, overall, we just got to start this thing earlier, like 4:30 in the afternoon on the East Coast. Like, we got to get this thing started earlier. So like, again, when they were racing and the product was out there, it was great. It was just all of these stretches of time where you didn't have product. And I'm going to talk more about, like I said, about that in Lights Too Bright. But it was overall something I'm excited to see again. I kind of want to move to Chicago. I said this in my house. Like, I kind of want to move to Chicago after this race. Like, it was great marketing for Chicago, especially on Saturday because it was so beautiful. So yeah, I hope it comes back again.
Oh yeah,
I still would take this. Yeah, I would take this over Bowman Gray, North Wilkesboro, Road America. Like, I'll take this 10 out of 10 times over those places again. I just think it's a better product. It's more unique. It's only once a year. We're not going to do 10 of these. Let's keep this in the schedule. And I think it, like I said before, it does say something with your champion can say they raced on short tracks, 1.5 mile ovals, super speedways, road courses, and a street course. Like, you had to go through all of these types of racing to be a champion. I think that's something that is unique and can be unique to NASCAR, that they should really lean into the fact that they have to be more versatile in their schedule than a lot of these other series that only do ovals or only do road courses, but they don't go to like a Martinsville. So I really enjoy this. I think they did a great job. It seemed like the turnout was great again this year, which I appreciate the folks out there going out there. I hope they had a great time. Hope they had their ponchos and their umbrellas this time. And they still got to enjoy the racing that they did see. And I want it back next year.
Yeah, and I don't want this to be taken as, the race was trash. Race control ruined the race. I just want to just whoever designed the track, I commend you. The on-track product was fantastic. You really got to see the comp this year. I feel like everybody was up on the wheel, not wanting to get beat, by the outsider again, not letting him go back to back. But everybody got up for this race. The track design, the track layout, like all of this was, fantastic. As we saw from the Xfinity race, it gave you a whole lot to look forward to for Sunday. But just preventable mistakes is what puts a damper on the Cup race. That's probably the best way to put it. But shout out to Chicago. Thank you, Chicago, for having NASCAR. Thank you to all the fans that attended. Shout out Jamal. That was his first race in a few years. He got to see in person. And I know he had a blast. We tried to get him on here, but he had some other obligations. But shout out to Connor too. We've been trying to get him here as well, but his day job takes up that time. But we had some friends of the show in attendance, and they had nothing but fantastic things to say about the atmosphere, about the environment, about the racing product in person, the amenities, like everything was just top notch. We had a really, really high bar set, which is what you love to hear about a new city, that quote unquote new city, where, sports going back to. So shout out to everybody involved with the race weekend. The mayor was out there in a fire suit. So hopefully, he got into the spirit and he wants to opt in for next year. So we can get this back and get this on the road. I would not mind, this being, part of the schedule. It's weird to not have 4th of July on a Daytona type track, but the city loved it. The fans love it. Like I said, it was as advertised for the most part this year, getting the concerts and all that stuff to go down. So, to Art's point, we need it back next year for the people. So let's make that happen, France family.
And hopefully they start this race earlier at 4:00.
If you made it this far, your time's almost coming. You get ready to hoop and holler at your listening device. But first, let's do a quick peek over at our friends at 23 Levion Corner. Shout out Bubba. Shout out Tyler. Lewis won yesterday. To everybody, shock, all surprise, and thoughts and feelings. We already knew that it was gonna be a cooked up day. Lewis won, the Iron Dames won, Pato Award won, and we just knew we was about to walk into some magic tree for this Cup race. Bubba qualified 6th. He had a race winning car. Bubba was fast. Bubba was really fast. The stopwatch says it. Bubba was flying. We all got nervous when the jet dryers got in the way and Tyler hit Bubba coming out of pit road, didn't mess with the car. Bubba was on rails. The mishap happened where he got turned by Alex Bowman and friends. He bent the tone link. They got that fixed thanks to Chicago being so huge and under pace car speed, especially. That was a huge win for them to get that fixed. The car was fine. He just hung it out, dug it out. The countdown clock started, and he was like, all right, we're just gonna make the best of it. And within the two cautions of people wanting to taste test the tire barriers, he made up 23 spots to finish 13th yesterday. Tyler was catching Bowman. Tyler was on slicks at the end of the race. Bowman still on wets. You could see the speed difference. It would look like an F1 race. I was like, ooh, the first to slicks wins. And Tyler almost had it. He hit, I forget what turn he was in, but he grazed the wall, killed his momentum, and Alex was able to keep him at bay. But all in all, I'd say it was a pretty good race day for 2311. Tyler finished second in the brand Jordan Air Jordan 1 retro card 45 Camry, and Bubba with the forget that. I'm not even going to attempt to think of the anime he had. I ain't even gonna say it. Yeah, I'll let you say it. No, I ain't saying it.
The Juju Kaizen McDonald's paint scheme,
which was absolute fire, complete surprise to all of us.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the day that I feel like Bubba deserved. But because of who Bubba is and because of who he is when he puts that helmet on, he still managed to get, I'd say, with all the adversity that he faced, a very good result. So I just want to give a golf clap to all of 2311 this weekend. Y'all brought the hot rods, whatever SVG told Bubba was working, because I promise you, had he not gotten wrecked, we might be having a different conversation. He might have had to fight some people, but it might have been, I don't mean fight like fisticuffs. I mean like fight like he could have, there probably would have been some really good battles, him getting the rest of the spots he needed. But he was on one yesterday, which gives me hope for this upcoming weekend at Pocono. Art Bonte Art. 2311 corner.
Proud of Bubba. What a massive comeback. Literally going from 35th to 13th. I'm like, he got that dog in him, man. And he literally got improved so much well in road courses. And not only that, this is his best finish, because last year he finished like, I can't remember where he finished, but it was like in the 20s when he finished. I think he crashed towards the end. But now, we got the dog in him. So, massive recovery to the 23 team. Hated how the day got ruined. I don't blame Bubba for getting mad at Bowman. Even Bowman himself said, had it coming. I understand he's mad at me. I understand he's mad. I ruined his day. That's totally my fault. And another thing, big ups to Alex Bowman though for literally doing that, because a lot of people know that. Not only that, Twitter people are literally having a heart attack over it. So shout out to him. Tyler almost had that in the bag. Had it for him, but I feel like when Tyler came in 2011 racing, I feel like he helped Bubba improve his road courses massively. Like, because it's been phenomenal this year on road courses for Bubba. So yeah, hopefully we keep it going, and hopefully Bubba can point his way to the playoffs, because he's minus 40, 45 or 44 at the line. So 7-6 races left. So hopefully we can keep this good momentum up.
I think this is one of those where both drivers are really going to look back and wonder what could have been, right? I have very, very little doubt in my mind that if Tyler doesn't clip that corner, he's pushing Bowman up the track coming out the last turn, and he's beating him to the line. Like, I have zero doubt. I mean, you saw him close, 10 car lengths in one straightaway at one point on the last lap. Like he was a missile. So I'm disappointed for him. You know, like he's obviously super talented, and you only get so many chances at winning in your career. And this week and last week, to have two shots not go your way on the last lap, it has got to be a bitter pill. I heard him on the radio on today, the day after the race, and he was, you know, pretty hard up about it, which I understand. Like he seems like someone who just takes it very personally, as he should. Like it's important. But I do think there is something to be said for still finishing second from his side. You know, the crew made a really big brain play, and if you know, 30 seconds difference go by, they, you know, even if 20 seconds difference go by differently, they probably win that race. And we get a nice Jordan diecast, which I know we never actually will, but a man can dream. For the 23 team, I mean, this just kind of goes to show you again the growth of Bubba as a driver. You know, we've talked about him progressing and growing as a driver since he became a 2311, you know, mentally, physically, you know, emotionally, all of those things have improved. And I think this race was another example of how well he's improved. And here's the story and the reason why I want to bring that up. Last year they had, you know, the Bubba block party. He did a bunch of media, of course. It was a very big deal. He did a bunch of media again this year, but there was something that stood out to me last year. Was he did some interview and he goes, you know, we're going to try our best out there on Sunday, but you know, these are road courses. These aren't really my kind of thing. You know, these really aren't my strong suit. Or he said something that kind of alluding to the fact that he anticipated he would struggle last year. Now you look at them coming into this year, and they were fast all weekend long. You know, great in practice, top 10 in qualifying, up front in the lead pack pretty much all race long until they got caught up in a, you know, somebody else's mistake and misfortune that honestly shouldn't have been happened in the first place if they did single file restarts like they've always done for rain in those scenarios. But anyway, even with that, even with the damage, having to, you know, start out back again, to come home 13th and be disappointed. And this is kind of goes back to what I said last week about expectations. You know, last year, if Bubba finished 13th on a road course, we're doing backflips and cartwheels, right? Like he finished 10th at Watkins Glen or whatever, and like we were celebrating. We were like, yeah, this is the man. Like 10th place on a road course, like the chef is here. And now here we are, a year later. We're at another road course. I would argue a harder road course, given that it's a street course. He finishes 13th, and we're like, man, like that. What could have been? Like it was. They had so much more available to them. Like that's what I'm talking about when it comes to expectations and like what kind of performance you would want out of this team for this driver. I mean, I just think the sky's the limit. Like, do I expect him to be, you know, Chase Elliott 9 road course wins? No, I don't. But I think the days of expecting Bubba to finish 30th and 35th in a road course on speed, I think those days are long gone. You know, remember last year where we were getting in the playoffs and I think McDowell and someone else was like, oh, we've got road courses coming up, so we can get up on the 23. Like, I think the ideas of just assuming this team is just going to suck for those 6 weeks of the year are gone. And I'm so happy for it. That's the biggest positive I have is that, like I said, on a beat up car that got ran into several times, right? Got wrecked by the Bowman incident, got hit from behind, you know, at a full stop. I'm sure that felt real great. I'm sure there was no whiplash coming out of that. But for that car to come home 13th, I just think that's such an impressive effort, not just from Bubba as well, but from the team, right? Like they had to go into the hood and work on that car and get it fixed and get it to where it had enough speed to go out there. And, you know, like they still had to execute in the rain on pit road too, just like all the other teams did. So I just think the progress is still there and it's being shown if you look for those details. Because I just remember, like I said, that quote just stuck in my head. And I remember thinking like, oh man, I kind of don't like that he said that. Like, you know, I understand like it's not your strength, but like, let's not go into that kind of attitude. But then like this year, it's like a complete 180. Right. And, I think that's probably one reason why there is a higher level of disappointment, because they know like they could have had something. And even if it wasn't a win, a top 5, now I'm doing backflips and cartwheels, right? Like that level of success is obtainable. It doesn't take a Hail Mary. It doesn't take 10 cars running out of gas coming to the line, right? Like you can get there on speed and merit alone, and that's plenty. And so like those factors to me are so encouraging. I'm sure he probably got out the car, and as pissed off as he was, he probably wanted to run it back, and he could probably give you another 45 50 laps right afterwards, because it's clear like he put in the homework from his side to get better. And yeah, I think Bonte's point is probably ringing true. Like Tyler, I'm sure, has helped Bubba get better on these road courses, just like I'm sure Bubba has helped Tyler get better at super speedways, right? Like Tyler's in position and wins Talladega, I'm sure he had some assistance as well. So like I just think that relationship, that partnership really helps each other strengthen each other's weaknesses, right? Which I think is one reason why they're such a good pairing, and like their personalities seem like they get along really well, at least from the outside. So as angry and as frustrated as I am about the results, I think the fact that I'm angry and frustrated about a 13th place finish tells you all that you need to know about like where this team can go. And I still think this team can be at some point a multi-win per season team. Like they can be a threat to go out there and make it to a final 8, a final 4. I just don't think that's crazy. I think, and I know that's kind of wild because I've been bad mouthing them the last like 6 weeks, but I just think the potential is there. It's just figuring out and changing some pieces of the recipe to get it to just be in like perfect sync. So I'm glad they got a decent result out of it. It wasn't what you wanted, but it could have been a lot worse. I hate it for Tyler. Like I said, like that's really tough. As far as the whole Bowman thing, I just think a lot of these people need to grow up. I'm going to talk more about it in a minute, but like there's 2 sets of rules in this sport, and I think it showed reared its ugly head again this week. But I'm glad Bubba nudged, rubbed, bumped, hit, whatever you want to say, Bowman, because I think you have to let that guy know, like, hey, I'm not happy, and you have to like reestablish yourself, because if you don't, you're gonna get run over all the time. Like you can't give these guys an inch to think, oh, well, I can do this and get away with it. Because, leading up to that incident, like, yes, the wreck was an accident. Like, I don't think Bowman was trying to dump him necessarily on purpose. Like, I think he was just being very aggressive, and you have to, but they were banging doors and they were pushing, and Bowman was moving Bubba out of the way at times, and Bubba was moving Bowman out of the way at times, and they were fighting in like that 6th, 7th place. So like, you can't let any driver think that they can just dump you or wreck you and there be no consequence from it. So I'm perfectly fine with it from that front. If you want to give him a fine, sure, but all these calls for suspension, and I mean this should have been the spilled milk segment for some of these people, because you would have thought it was a murder with in the kitchen with the butter knife, the way these people were talking, like absolute mayhem. And I hate it. I think it's ridiculous. So I'm hopeful and sure that like Bubba, his circle, 2311 circle, like they'll make sure that he doesn't, hear the noise and can focus on Pocono, because Pocono is another track that's been good to him. And, it's not crazy to think you get another good finish there. So just got to turn the page as quickly as you can, because, the calendar, the schedule doesn't wait for anyone or for any team. But you're definitely one that we'll look back on and be like, man, that one could have been even greater. And a 2nd and a 13th are not bad days, but like I said, we're disappointed for both cars or 2nd and a 13th. So it is what it is. That's racing.
Sid, I tweeted after the Hamilton win that, mark my words, it's going to be a good day. It's a sign. Saw the signs. We saw it, Sid. We synced it. We synced it, and I see the momentum. I see that the 23 side of the shop has woken up. They have taken heed to Bubba's advice. Like, yo, we need a win. All you need is this. I tell people every time I play poker, all you need is a chip in the chair, baby. You just need a seat at the table. If the 23 team can get a seat at this doggone table, which is the Chase. I don't know. That playoff schedule looked real good as far as Bubba's strengths and tracks that he can do really well at and track that he's performed very well at. We said at the beginning of the season, we need a sticker on the car. Get a sticker on the car, and y'all just see what else unfolds. You can't say he can't drive road courses anymore. He made the 13 spots on 2 restarts in the rain. In the rain. In the rain. Nothing else needs to be said.
Say it one more time.
In the damn rain. But
Yeah, y'all heard that.
Lights too bright. So I was gonna save this discourse for open mic, but we have much more important things to talk about in open mic. So I'm gonna do it now. My lights too bright goes to Stewart-Haas Racing. You're not losing your jobs. The race shop is not closing down because you don't have a manufacturer for next year, or you don't have the money, or you don't have the sponsors. You're losing your race team and your race shop, and you're bowing out of the sport because your driver lineup has no sense of racecraft. All 4 cars wrecked yesterday. I repeat, all 4 Stewart-Haas vehicles found themselves in the wall or the tire barriers yesterday. That is utterly embarrassing, absolutely ridiculous. I would bow out too if I was Gene Haas. You're supposed to be professional race car drivers, and inclement weather or not, you cannot lose your head at a very, very, very public stage. You reap what you sow. You got what you deserve. 2 of y'all finding out that you still got a job. The third one is going to be announced very shortly where Noah ends up. And Ryan Preece, I hope you just take your family to Disney World. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I shouldn't have to see y'all on my TV in 4K because you don't know how to make a turn. You don't know how to find your brake pedal. Apparently, Chase is saying that his brakes locked up and then shut off, which is why he went nose first into 6 barriers. But be that as it may, you were still a menace the entire day. Stewart-Haas Racing and your hashtag Real Racers gets my lights too bright. Honorable mention to Corey LaJoy for being Corey LaJoy.
You know, the worst part is they wrecked a couple times each. That's the thing. Like,
literally,
if you told me
it wasn't just once.
You told me
it was all of them, bro.
One car each car wrecked once, like, okay, whatever. But every car wrecked about 4 or 5 times. I mean, it got to be somebody to the point I was just, and what made it real bad was that several times they both wrecked at the same time in the same corner, and they got the same scheme, and I'm like, oh god, which pairing is it at this point? It's not even the same one. Yeah, that was rough. That might be the worst weekend I've seen in terms of a team wrecking in total overall. Like, that was just bad. That's real bad. Bonta, you go next because I'll let you go. Go ahead.
You good. Lights too bright goes to Corey LaJoy. Your weekly Lights too bright goes to that guy. Who was for sure SHR, but mostly Corey LaJoy because it's Corey LaJoy. That's it. Oh, and by the way, Corey LaJoy, you are next week's Lights too bright. Oh wait, you are in following a week Lights too bright. By the way, Corey LaJoy. So there you go.
I truly think that we're going to have to get a trophy made and sent to the Spire Race Shop in honor of Corey LaJoy being the season-winning Lights too bright winner.
Is
that too petty?
No, actually, we gonna the award show. Corey LaJoy's Lights too bright. That's it.
I just we don't gotta get the postal service involved in this, do we?
I mean,
we don't gotta send mail.
If we're channeling our inner Kendrick this week.
Yeah.
So we got to make a music video. Like, look, I'll rock an all white outfit. I'll rock an all white outfit now. Now I don't know how to dance like some of them folks, but
muscle on a beat. You sure that's too bright, Art?
My lights too bright before we lose the plot. My lights too bright, as I alluded to earlier, has got to be race control. And this This segment, it's called Lights Too Bright, but it should be called Put the Kids to Bed, because you know how much fucking time these people wasted this week? So my problem is I have issue with starting the race, but whatever. The rain happens, you can't control the weather, whatever. Okay, we're gonna go. We have a darkness timer. I think I actually don't hate the timer either, because the timer kind of fixes the problem that happened at New Hampshire, a couple of years ago, where it was just kind of an arbitrary number. Like they were just riding around. They didn't know when it was gonna get called for a while, and they said, okay, 10 laps to go. I don't mind that. Everybody knew the stage. Everyone understood the situation. That's great. My problem is, you tell me we have 62 minutes to go. Great. Get them out there. Get them running. Why are we having a stage caution when you've got a literal running clock? A literal running clock on this event. I think this is the only sporting event besides youth soccer where there's just a consistent running clock. And I feel like that only starts when one team gets up like 10-0, right? Like we got to just get this out here. He's going to keep it going no matter what. Ball's out of bounds, keep it going, whatever. I sat there with my stopwatch and watched. Do you know how long that stage break lasted? From
20.
yellow flag to green flag, 9 minutes. 9 minutes and 15 seconds was the stage break caution. From yellow
that's
to green.
That's a whole music video on YouTube.
Talent. So and to think about it this way, when the stage break came, there was less than 25 minutes to go. So I believe it was 23 minutes, but let's say 25 minutes, round up. So you have the stage break. That's such a huge chunk of the time. And I already have my own issue with the stage break laps counting as laps of racing. I think that's such an asinine decision. Like, you're literally taking away laps of the race, which is the most valuable commodity of the race. There are two things: the number of laps and the channel you can watch it on, the TV exposure. Those are the two most valuable things. You take them away for cautions, whatever. But the fact that the stage caution took 10 minutes almost is so ridiculous to me. They should have come out there and said, all right, we're running it. This is at this lap is the end of the stage. We deal out the points, keep it moving, keep this train rolling. I just think it's so fucking stupid that you wasted this time when the time is the most valuable thing you have at this point. It's all you have is the amount of time. And secondly, in that same 25-minute stance of time, Josh Berry wrecks. Okay, hey, whatever. We just talked about SHR. You wrecked or whatever. Josh Berry wrecked. Caution came out. Got it fired. Drove away. As soon as he wrecked, I pull up my clock app. I go to stopwatch because I want to know. From the time from yellow flag to green flag for the Josh Berry wreck, 7 minutes, 2 seconds. So you're telling me in the last 25 minutes of the race that has to be decided by clock due to darkness, we lose 16 minutes and 17 seconds. 16 out of the last 25 minutes of that race were under caution. For a wreck that you got to throw the wreck. He's in the line, sure, whatever. I don't remember where he wrecked, but if you say he's in the racing line, that's fine. But he drove away. So 5 of those minutes were just pacing the field. Like, what are we doing? This is the most valuable thing you have, and you piss away 16 of your last 25 minutes. That ruined the race for me, honestly. Like, way more than Bubba's stuff, way more than the rain delay, way more than the running clock. That the fact that we're sitting there watching them, and I'm watching on the illegal stream. I ain't going to bullshit you. And so I got no commercials. And I'm just watching them pace the field. Why are cautions so long? Like, I get it's a road course. I get you got to bunch them up or whatever. But there's no choose because it's single file. There's no reason for that. And they should have made the call to say no stage break when we put you back out there and give us fucking 10 minutes of racing when I only got 62 minutes guaranteed to go. And, I heard someone on Twitter, I read someone on Twitter say, oh, they can't change the rule. There's a rule that says they can't take out the stage caution. My brothers in Christ, you make the rules. No one is holding you accountable. There's no sanctioning body above you. There's no government agency that's going to come and look over your shoulder and say, you signed this contract. You literally make the rules. So, like, let's not act like these are some like edged in stone on Mount High in Charlotte, North Carolina rules that like we can't just change them. The rules are made up. All right. Like you've literally made up rules on the spot before. You've made up and changed rules regarding what's legal and illegal in a car on a week to week basis. So like, don't sit here and tell me that the sanctity of the rules, this time honored tradition, you change the points every 5 years. What you mean? So don't tell me the rules are so valuable. And it just ruined the fucking race for me. Like I was so aggravated because you've got these people that have been watching all damn day, sitting out there in the rain, and we're going to pace for 16 minutes in the last 25 minutes. Like, what are we doing out here? Like, it makes no sense at all. And like race control has been brutal when it comes to these cautions, just burning off. I don't know what this thing is lately where we're just going to burn off 25% of the race under stage cautions and caution laps pacing the field. Like, what is this aversion to letting them run green? Like, is that not why we're here? If I want to watch a parade, I just wait till Thanksgiving, but I want to see the fucking race. I want to see them go out there and compete. So I just could not stand. Like, this was so ridiculously stupid. And I understand like mistakes happen, whatever, TV things happen, but this is something that's fully in your control. And I told my fiance, I was like, these are the kind of dumbass decisions that make me want to quit watching because it's so embarrassing. The fact that I'm sitting there watching the clock tick down and then I got to watch these poor announcers try to sit there and act like, it's suspense. Oh, what's going to happen, with the clock or whatever. And like, it's not their fault, but like we're sitting there just pacing around for a stage caution for 10 minutes. Like, that's so embarrassing to me. Like, that made me want to just quit this and become an F1 fan. Like, I legit dead ass wanted to just quit the show, quit watching NASCAR. I was like, these people are idiots and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So why should I care if you're just going to dick around and make these stupid decisions every single time? It's a clutch moment. Again, second most watched race in 3 years. Hey, let's just ride around, under caution. Let's not let them race. And it'd be one thing if they were wrecking back to back to back, but no, for the stage break. You want to talk to me about the rules. You want to talk to me about longtime fans. I see that a lot of talk about, the old school fans. Where the fuck were y'all complaining about the stage breaks? That's where your outrage should be at, not Chicago. It needs to be down there at Charlotte at HQ. Wondering a stage break. Dale Sr. would be rolling over at a stage break. Cale Yarborough would be like, what the hell is a stage break? But we got to give up 10 of our last 25 minutes for this. I tell you, I could not believe how stupid this was. And I just hate it. I think it makes us look stupid. I watched that Formula One race and I was like, man, these are the adults in the room, man. And like Formula One got its own problems. But could you imagine? They're like, hey, Lewis, we've run about 2/3 of the race. So we're going to go ahead and bunch everyone back up real quick. Okay. And then maybe if you want to pit, you can, but we're just going to artificially bring everyone back together. Is that okay? Is that okay, Max? You guys are cool with that? Like they'd be like, you're a joke. What are you talking about? We're racing. So they are my biggest lights too bright. And I've been cussing for 10 minutes and I'm sorry. But I wanted you to put the kids to bed. I just think this is so stupid. I hate when this sport makes it look like it's run by a bunch of idiots. And I'm sure there are smart people in those rooms, but like, fuck me, man. Like, what are we doing out there? Just, if there's ever a time, like, this is the last time I say, clearly the rules are not etched in stone. I know it's an all-star race, but I remember watching a certain all-star race many years ago. It rained like a motherfucker. Half the field wrecked. They're like, go ahead and bring out a backup car. Change the rules on the fly. Like, don't sit here and tell me you couldn't gone in and change the rules. Like, welcome to NASCAR. The rules mean nothing, and we made them up as we go. But they matter when we want them to matter. So I hate it. I hate the people in charge when they make these kinds of decisions. They get my lights too bright. They get the Sunnies. They get the Zennies. They get whatever. They get the Ray-Bans. I'll mail them something. I'll tell you that. Corey LaJoy, you're out of my crosshairs. Like I'm put some in the mail for them, Jarrett, before I would for to Spire. I just don't know how you do something so stupid.
Wow,
And
that was probably the most rant I received art of my life. I'm never like, bro. Do you look like the word? I'm sorry. You curse more than all combined, bro.
I think about it like this, like I said earlier, like this race is so important. And I think why I'm especially fired up is like this race is so important to the schedule. Second most watched race in 3 years for NBC over any race for NASCAR. This is your biggest race, probably behind the Daytona 500. You know, I'm sorry, but like you're not gonna get 35+% viewers for fucking Richmond 2. Love you, Richmond. I hope to see you in a couple weeks, but like you're not getting all of that, you know, like we see these tracks for years. This is only our second time here. Like it's still such a big thing. And like, you know, last year, what happened with the rain, I don't blame them for. And, you know, like the decisions around the timing and the weather that aren't in their control, I don't blame them for. But this is a decision that was fully in their control and they could have done something better. They could have made a better decision that would have benefited the racing, the product, the fans, TV. You want to talk about TV being happy? You think TV liked watching that for 20 minutes? Huh? Like, you think that's fun to watch? You think the ratings were high for that part? Like, everyone would have benefited from that. And like, again, like you make the rules. No one answers to you. So like, don't sit there and be like, oh, well, I can't do anything. You know, the higher ups call them, you know, I'm sure they're in Chicago. I'm sure they're shaking hands with all the big wigs. And it's just, this race is so fucking important to growing the sport. Like it is so important. And like for you to just fumble it away with like these asinine decisions. Cause like I'm sitting in the house, my fiance's sitting there bored on her phone. Cause we're pacing for 10 minutes straight for nothing, for a stage break, which means nothing. It's just like this inability to be flexible and adjust with the situation. You know, like corporate incompetence is one of the things that I hate the most in this world. And like, this is just kind of another example of it where like you had a layup and like, can you imagine how good we would have talked about NASCAR if they were like, hey, we're going to do a stage break for the last 60 minutes. God, I would have sang their praises so good, boy. I tell you. And they just didn't. And it just disappoints me so much. So I think that's why I'm so fired up. Like I said, I literally was like, I think I might stop watching racing after this season. I was like, I'm not enjoying watching the decision makers in charge of the show. And I'm not talking about NBC. I'm not talking about Fox. I'm talking about the people down there in Charlotte that make the big decisions and get the big bucks. Those people just, I cannot understand how much that upsets me. So I'm done. That's it. That's all I got.
The insane amount of cursing, man. It's hilarious. Hey, I don't blame you though.
I just want good racing.
If you thought that was fun, it's time for open mic. I'm gonna say this real calm. I'm gonna say this real slow, and I'll let my other hosts add into their opinion. I have read and seen extremely idiotic things by these hard card having members of NASCAR media. The various outlets that they work on, the various podcasts you can hear them on. I've seen and heard some downright despicably stupid things these past 24 hours. And I come here to use my platform that I pay for to say this. You're doing yourself a disservice by continually placing blame on the one African-American Cup Series driver that we have. You are a damn fool thinking and always wanting Bubba Wallace to lose his job, Bubba Wallace to be suspended, Bubba Wallace to be replaced. The first words out of your mouth should never be Bubba Wallace in an on-track incident that he's involved in. You should never always point blame at him first, Clint Boyer. You should not take that hot take and run with it, Jeff Gluck. You should not stand on business and repeat it 52 times, Jordan Bianchi. You all are despicable. You're disgraceful human beings. I'm very disappointed in all three of you. You should know better than to just run with what Twitter sees to get your likes and your engagement. I don't care that Twitter cuts you a check for your likes and your replies and the things that you say. You owe NASCAR more than that. If you are the faces, if you are the so-called voice of the people, if you're the realists and everybody loves you and adores listening to you for all your hot takes and all the quick witty comebacks that you say and all of your insider information, what's good for the goose is what's good for the gander. You're still defending yourself right now on Twitter, saying that Bubba should be fined or suspended for nudging Bowman. You have no smoke for Chase Elliott. No smoke for Chase Elliott. None. And he did a more egregious act than Bubba did. More egregious. On top of that, Alex Bowman said during the rain break, he apologized. It's my fault. That's my bad. He called Bubba. He texted Bubba apologizing. Bubba nudged him. Good win. Good job. Glad you finished me off to get the win. Whatever he did, what it was in that moment that Bubba was doing at 22 miles an hour. He still came post-race his interview, national television, apologized again to Bubba. His bad. My fault. I accept responsibility. I earned that. If that was retaliation, I earned that. Let's move forward. Let's move on. I don't want anything to happen to him. He doesn't deserve to be penalized or suspended for that. I'm good with it. You should be too. It's 9:47 Eastern Standard Time, and I'm still seeing this shit on my timeline. You're pathetic, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. It's fucking exhausted, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Like we've, and I don't want to make this a race thing, but damn it, black people have to deal with enough shit throughout the day to have to sit here and fight for a man that if you're lucky enough, you get a chance to meet face to face, you get lucky enough for a handshake or a picture, you get lucky enough to have a platform and listeners where you can explain this to people from the black perspective. How dare you? How dare you fix your lips? How dare your brain tell your fingertips to type this trash out? And you're still going. Freddie Kraft, spotter from Bubba Wallace, echoed the same sentiments the damn race car owner Denny Hamlin had on their Perspective podcast today. And you idiots are still at it for some engagement. Cut it out. You don't need to check that bad. If you do, get a real full-time job and stop writing articles for The Athletic. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I invite all the smoke. You want to come to me, you want to say something to me, my DMs are wide open at _sneakerhead_. You know where I'm at, you know where I be. And you will get the tongue lashing that you're hearing right now because you deserve it. We're better than this. We're better than this as a sport, I feel like, at least. Everything we've gone through the last 4 years, we should be in a better spot than we are now. And I'll be damned if the first thing that happens this season, here comes everybody, hats off, mask off, like Kiana would say right now, and you're showing your ass on a public platform for what? For engagement. Stop it. Cut it out. You need some help.
And then not only that, every other driver did this. And this is nothing new. Like, come on now.
So
Nobody said anything to Art and I when we were at Richmond when Martin Truex 1, 2, 3, 4 bumper slam Denny, flicking him off as Denny went to go celebrate on pit road. Nobody said anything about that being egregious. Nobody said that was safe. Nobody said, "Oh my God, Martin Truex! Oh my God! Oh my God! Find him, suspend him. Joe Gibbs, kick him out of the car." Nobody said any of that.
Right. No one did said that when Kyle Busch damn near just drove off when Kevin Harvick was out the car back in 2011. No one did. I'm sorry, Coach Art. That one more time. No one did say that to Kyle Larson when he nudged Denny Hamlin to the wall last year at Pocono. No one did say that.
Yeah, I think I have two thoughts on this. My first thought is going to be to the on-track side of it. And that is that we have seen this exact same maneuver done year in and year out forever. So all of these people who suddenly are so invested in the visor was up, the belts might have been off, the window net was down. I've never heard these talking points get brought up before. I just think these people are acting like he right hooked him into the wall, and it's such a mountain out of a molehill in terms of on track product. I guarantee the 48 was fine with it. He knew it was probably coming. And he, like to Jared's point, admitted that I owed him that. He deserved to get that on me. And like, do you people realize how tough these cars are? Like, that car is fine. Like, Alex is fine. I guarantee you, Alex took worse hits in the race. So that's the first part. Yeah.
I try to cut you off. Alex just told the media that he barely hit me towards the end, so that we shouldn't even have this issue in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's that part. It's, Chase Elliott sped up and passing cars to go do a very similar maneuver to the 99 in the same race. Yeah, there's no energy for that. A fraction of the attention. The Truex incident, I watched in the stands when Denny ran up to Bowman's car at Martinsville and got bumper to bumper with him while he was doing the burnout, flicking him off, losing his mind. There were no calls for suspension then. So the point I'm making is that, and I think a lot of our listeners will understand and know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case. The fact is that this was not a new thing. And if literally these media folks just said, oh, that happened and moved on and just focused on Bowman winning, none of this would have happened. And it's very disappointing and a reminder of the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, there are two sets of rules in this sport, and one set is for if you are a certain skin color. And I'm sorry to make it as blunt as that, but it's clear that, like, you're never allowed to show any emotion. You're never allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to be upset. Otherwise you're a thug. You're a bully. You have a temper tantrum. Like, it's all these same things, that they try to tag on black athletes that express emotion. I remember Serena Williams went through the same thing when she was playing, and like, because she had a bad attitude when she was doing the exact same thing her competitors were doing. It's just so ridiculous and just disheartening. I think that was probably another reason why I said what I said about at the end of the race yesterday as well. I was like, man, why the fuck am I watching this? Like, I don't have to do this. Like, I love doing this, but like, I don't have to watch this race. Like, I'm not obligated. I do it because I want to and I love to, but like, if it's gonna act like this, then why the fuck bother? So that's the first point. And then the second point, with like certain members in the media, like, and not just the media, but like NASCAR marketing and like NBC marketing, like, they all know what they're doing. Like, folks, if you're listening to this, like, these people are not stupid, right? Like, they're not dumb. They know what they're doing when they make these kinds of comments, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, or when they post this kind of content, because they know anytime Bubba is involved in just the smidge of what could be considered controversy, they get all the clicks, all the engagement, all the views, because all the bigots in the races come out and just want to, type about how he's, this slur, that slur, and the third. And, like I said in my tweet, like, I'm not anti Jeff Gluck. Like, I think he's a good dude from everything I'd seen up to this point. I'm not saying he isn't, like, I'm not sitting there trying to badmouth this character, but like, it's disappointing when like you continue to double and triple down on like this stance that you have when it clearly doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint why you have it. I don't appreciate the fact that other members in the media will go and continually belittle black people and black accomplishments. Lewis just had this amazing achievement, and I get it's just a tweet or whatever, but you got Jordan out there saying, oh, well, he still got one less win than his teammate the last 2 years. Dude's a 7-time champion. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this whole gimmick of like, oh, I'm going to downplay these people or their accomplishments is so tired. And it's interesting how it's only one skin color that goes through that kind of treatment. It never seems to be, these other ethnicities that get this kind of treatment, And, some people were saying that, oh, to one of my tweets earlier yesterday was that, oh, you're giving them attention. You shouldn't talk about it. You shouldn't go at them. And I said, oh, so it's my responsibility to ignore the racism that like that my driver faces or that the person that shares the same race as I do faces. But it's not the other people's responsibility to call it out. Like, I'd love to see all of NASCAR media come out with like a joint statement and say like racism has no place. Like, I don't support it. This isn't what I'm about. If I see you posting racist shit, like, I'm going to block you or ban you, like, just to make a clear stance on it. Like, that's what I would love to see. But you don't. You just do the bare minimum. And, like I said, same thing with the networks that do it with the social content. Like, I guarantee you saw, if you were on social, on the Facebook side, I'm sure it was popping like crazy. But all of these people commenting and getting engagement and boosting them because they know it's what they can use to rage bait and get people to engage with them. So it's so tiring. And I just hate this idea of like, oh, we're just reporting, like, this is just our opinion, but like, it's not consistent. Like, nothing was said about Truex. I'd argue that Truex was way worse, in my opinion. I don't care about this whole idea about the window net is down. Like, it's still a hot track. Like, calm down. Like, oh, what? So we're just never going to touch a car afterwards. Okay, that's fine. But then whatever punishment Bubba gets, Chase Elliott has to get. If you're a Chase Elliott fan, you're hearing that your boy messed up again, apparently, because he went out of his way and sped up to go catch the guy. So, it's just disheartening, like I said. And, I would love to just see this world of NASCAR like be better about this sort of thing. But like I said, it's very obvious. If you are a person of color, you've been in enough rooms, like more than likely, that you can tell when the shit's up. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell when they're like, oh, okay, this is what they're on right now. So it's just disappointing. I really hope that nothing really comes from it. I tell you what, man, I don't think they're going to. I think he'll get a fine, like maybe $35,000 or something, like, which is whatever. But like, this idea that like, oh, he should be suspended or whatever. If NASCAR suspended this man, like, there'd be so much more of an uproar. And I don't think NASCAR probably in terms of control, like, they don't really want this headache. I don't think, because this is really just taking away from what I just mentioned was the second most important race of the year. So I just would like to see the sport just be a welcoming, inclusive place for everyone, right? I just want it, I don't care, like, if you're Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, like, I think you should be able to watch and engage and follow the mainstream media of your sport without seeing the only Black driver be called a fucking monkey because he doored a guy on a cool down lap. And I think if that's an unreasonable expectation, well, then this sport's going to do a lot of soul searching, because it's clearly not come as far as we thought it would. So that's really all I have to say on it. Very disappointing. Like I said, I left this race and I said, why are we doing this? Like, why do I put myself through like this headache and heartache and stress of watching this shit? Like, I love this shit, and I'm not being like, oh, woe is me. Like, I'm doing this and I'm very privileged to be able to do this and like go to races and like buy diecast and shit. Like, I'm very privileged. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not, but I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, I could, my fiance and I could be out in a park on a Sunday afternoon instead of watching, fucking cars pace around for 20 minutes and then go online and see racism afterwards. So, I don't know. It's just disappointing. That's the key word I guess I have for it. It's just very, very disappointing.
Didn't Daniel Suarez, didn't they was doing the same thing to Daniel Suarez yesterday too, or probably don't remember.
No, I mean, I haven't seen any comments about Suarez online. I mean, he was, he was the victim, really. Like, he, from Chase going after him and hitting him. And I don't think, and the thing is, like, I don't think Chase did anything wrong either. Like, I'm not an anti-Chase guy. Like, most of my issue with Chase comes down with his fan base being crazy. But like, Chase as a guy himself, like, I have no issue with, and I have no issue with what he did. Like, that's part of NASCAR. Like, I just think, all these people that say they love Dale Sr. would be crying in buckets if they watched during his era, You know, like they would get that and do that all the time and like push and shove on pit road. Like, you want to talk about the fight in the Daytona 500? You want to talk about one of the most important races in NASCAR history was ended with a fight on the backstretch. And that's what blew up NASCAR. If you didn't know, go watch that race. It's on YouTube and NASCAR Classics. I'm sure it's a great race, but like, that's just part of it. And if you can't handle that, then you shouldn't watch it. But I know the reality is that you can't handle it when a person of color or when a black man does it. And that's the truth of it. And like, I don't like being that blunt about it, but like, that's the reality of what it is. So I just want to see better. I just want this sport to be good, better. I want it to be a great place for everyone, you know, like it's got a long way to go. I said the comment in the group chat, and this is my last note on. During like all of this going down yesterday, and I'm seeing like all these racist tweets or whatever, and I was like, watching NASCAR as a black fan at times feels like what it feels like when you're in love with someone and they do not love you back. That is at times what it feels like. And yesterday and still going today, that's what it felt like. It's like you can be the most diehard fan, and I'm not saying I am. Like, I know fans that are more diehard than I am. You know, I know fans that got fucking tattoos of drivers' numbers on them. Like, that's crazy. But like, you can be the most diehard fan or whatever, and because you look a certain way or you have a certain skin color, you have to deal with this kind of abuse. Or because a driver looks a certain way, has a certain skin color, you gotta deal with this abuse. And you're just like, I love you racing. Like, I love you NASCAR. Like, I want to enjoy as much of you as I can during my time here. And it's just like, no, that's okay. You're black. I don't fuck with you. That's what it feels like sometimes.
Oh God. Nah,
So.
man, it's frustrating, man. But we're not gonna bullshit you when you listen to us. We're the number one black led podcast for a reason. You have to if you don't know from our perspective, we had to educate you from such so you can see how it feels, how we feel.
Yeah. You know, one last thing I'll say, and then we can end it. I'll end on like a positive note, because I like to think that if you were listening to the number one black led racing podcast, you probably aren't a bigot. So I'm just gonna go and assume that most of our
you better not be.
Are. So I'm gonna end on a positive note and say, like, if you're wondering, because one of the questions I've seen before, like other spaces, is like, you know, if I'm not, you know, part of this problem, but like I'm not part of this group, like what can I do, right? Like, you know, in this scenario, let's say you're a fan and you follow, you know, NASCAR on Twitter or whatever, you follow us on Twitter, whatever, and you just like, what do I do if I see that? Like, call it out, say like, that shit ain't cool, you know, like, fuck you, dude, like, get the fuck out of here. You don't have to be a minority to stand up for a minority's place in a sport.
Okay.
That's something anyone can do, and it's always appreciated. Like, that's what you can do. Do I expect, you know, any non-black listeners to go out there and block off an hour to go reply to racist tweets? No, like I don't expect that out of you, and I don't want you to. I want you to spend your life and your day doing something much more positive. But, you know, if you see something like that at a track or, you know, online or whatever, call that shit out, because that's the only way we can like start to push back on like this shit. It's like it takes a village in that sense. So when I do see that from other folks, and you know, another positive note is that after my tweet showing like some of the racist stuff under Jeff Gluck's tweet, you know, there were a lot of folks under that who, at least from their profile pic, I mean, it's Twitter, so whatever, but like they were, you know, aghast. And, you know, like I appreciate that side of it as well. Like, we know, like, if you're a NASCAR fan, you don't fit that stereotype necessarily. And the ones that don't, like, we appreciate you, whether you're listening first time, long time, whatever. But that's what you can do. Like, that's huge. Like, that really does matter. Like, I'm not gonna downplay like it doesn't. So that'd be my only ask. That's my request. I guess my little wish, you know, help out when you can, but you know, you don't have to go crazy, like I said, and go block off time for it. But that's the one thing I would add.
Well, with that,
Wait, before you finish, I'm gonna say this, like, The amount of cursing art is crazy, but I don't blame him at all for this. So he good.
I appreciate that, bud. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, hey, look, I feel like anytime I spaz on the show, like, it's for a cause. And I'm not saying people spaz here on the show without cause. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, for me, like, if I'm gonna go off, I'm gonna tell you why I'm going off while I'm in the middle of cussing up a storm. Um, and it's just like I said, it always comes from the same place, right? Like I said it on the Twitter, I've said on the show, I'll say it here. Like, I just want good racing. I love this shit. We all do, but I'm just gonna speak for myself. Like, I love this shit so much. Like, you see my office. If you saw my credit card statement, you would know. Like, I love this shit, and like, I just wanted to be good. Like, if you asked me, would I rather NASCAR be at its absolute peak in terms of on-track product and, you know, worldwide exposure, or like my current employer being at its absolute peak? I'd take NASCAR 10 out of 10. Like 10 out of 10. Like, I just want this to do well so bad. Like, I've loved this my entire life. So that's where it comes from, you know. Like, we're all fans here, and like we can only be fans, like, right? Like, I'll never turn a wrench or change a car, you know, a tire or whatever, or drive a car in a race. But like, I can just tell you my thing, and like, we can all just be our collective voices screaming out into the woods. But that's where it comes from. Like I said, I want this to be great. I want this to be I want the NASCAR to be like basketball, football, baseball in exposure again. Like, I don't want it to only be a 7-year peak from mid 2000s, right? Like, I don't want that to be the sports peak in my lifetime. But when you do dumb shit that are big setbacks and you only get one chance at first impressions, it just makes it a bit tougher. So I'll end it there. That's my soapbox for the week. I'll be in a better mood next week, I promise.
Victory Lane Vibes fantasy update. Shout out JT for winning the Chicago Street Race. Her drivers were Ty Gibbs, Alex Bowman, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Michael McDowell. Swag.
Shout out to JT for that.
Shout out JT. I'm still heavily considering crashing. Chicanery's recording. We already warned Danny, so she can't get mad at us if we actually all show up, because
I'm lucky want to be on as well.
There was some greatness that everybody witnessed on Sunday morning over in England. All 3 series are in Pocono in the Montañas of Pennsylvania for Pocono race weekend. I really missed the doubleheader weekend. They need to bring that back in some way, shape, or form with the inverted top 20. Oh, it was greatness, man. That's the things that COVID afforded us that we took advantage of, man. That's some good racing. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, Raja has another good Pocono race. He normally seems fairly decent there. At least he did when he was in ARCA. Xfinity Cup for everybody in mountains. Yeah.
Before you finish, before you end the show, Jared, I would like to get a shout out to Art.
For what?
I appreciate it. I appreciate you too. I appreciate Art, because not only that, he literally gifted me my first ever sheet metal.
Oh, yeah, Art went crazy.
Of Christopher Bell's from Bristol this year. That I'm like the loss of words now. So I never owned this type of stuff before, and the fact that I have one from one of my favorite drivers. Hopefully, I get one for Bubba soon. But one of my favorite drivers is outstanding, and I appreciate you, Art. I appreciate you, Art, for gifting me that. Thank you, man.
Hey, man. You know, I put up the tweet. I like being cryptic on my tweets sometimes. I said, look, if that's one thing I'm gonna do, is to make sure my own eat. So I got to look after my people, and you my people. So it's all good, man. I'm glad you enjoy it. I just want to do something nice for you, so I'm glad.
Shout out to the plug. He won't be named. Shout out to the plug.
Yeah. Top secret.
Shout out to the plug.
Yeah. What does Shaq say? You need G14 classified clearance?
Yeah, G14 classified. You can't get it. But yeah, y'all keep following us. Y'all keep subscribing. Y'all keep sharing us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If this is your first time listening, we're normally not this off the rails, but if somebody says something dumb, we're going to react to it. We will never, ever not to be our authentic selves on this podcast. You know why? Because we paid the damn bill to do it. We say we want to. But yeah, y'all keep following us on Twitter. We're almost at 800. We got a really big prize pack to give away. Shout out to our partners at Home Field. We're doing the Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon art curated prize pack of the GOATs from Hendrick. 900 is redacted. 1,000 is redacted. As we get closer, you'll get to those milestones and we'll uncover the bits and pieces that are involved in those things. Make sure you give us a call on the hotline, 919-322-9267. Share your thoughts, say your opinions, share your feelings. Shout out to Carl for his presence. Shout out to BJ once again for calling in. We're going to get a t-shirt out to you for being a long-time listener, long-time fan of ours. But other than that, hopefully no shenanigans happens between Tuesday and Saturday. We'll hope to see you Sunday evening for your next edition of Victory Lane Vibes. Now play not like us.
God damn it. How did you know?
Okay, sorry.